talk more now about what's happening in Izyum. We can speak to Ukrainian military analyst Mykhailo Samus, who's the director of New Geopolitics Research Network, and he's speaking to us live from the capital, Kiev. Mykhailo, thank you very much for joining us here on BBC News. How have Ukrainian forces managed to claw back this territory, which for so long was in Russian hands?
Yeah, we should estimate everything thinking about the strategic operation of Ukrainian armed forces. It was the classical so-called shaping or preparation of battlefield. And actually, Ukrainian forces showed that they are ready to attack on the south, on the Kherson Oblast. And actually, as I understand it, Russian commanders, they believe in it, and they even moved some forces from Kharkiv Oblast to Kherson Oblast 1 month ago. And finally, Russian commanders didn't understand what actually Ukrainian forces will do in Kharkiv and Kherson Oblast. And that's why Ukrainian forces conduct very successful, I would say phenomenal, the offensive operations Kherson Oblast, liberating huge areas. But the main things here, they gain strategic initiative. And the best news now that Russian commanders, they absolutely don't know where will be the next strike of Ukrainian forces. South, Donetsk, or maybe Lugansk, or maybe Mariupol. So this is a problem for Russians to find the way where Ukrainians will strike next time.
It's now evident just how many people were tortured by Russian forces in the Kharkiv region. How does it compare with the situation around Bucha? Because we saw some incredible brutality there too.
Yeah, the answer is that this is the same army. This is the same armed forces. In Bucha and Irpin, it were in some specific units of Russian armed forces. The same units, the same armed forces conducting operations in any occupied territories in Ukraine. The same like in Donbass, especially in Donbass. I think that when we deliberate, when we deoccupy the areas in Donbass, which are under occupation more than 8 years, we'll find a lot of very awful things, very similar to what we found now in Kharkiv Oblast and Zaporizhia. So this is Russian armed forces. This is armed forces of war criminals, and this is the answer of all of this situation.
You've said that the recent gains by the Ukrainian soldiers have really made the Russians stop and think again about what else might be heading their way. How can Western allies support Vladimir Zelensky to make sure that they capitalise on the progress they've already made?
I think that, of course, Putin now counting on the energy crisis in Europe. It's openly talking about this Russian propaganda. So I think the solidarity in sanctions, solidarity in creating the common strategy, how to be on this long winter. And I think that this is the main thing now, solidarity and to create a common strategy, Ukraine and Europe, UK, this is the main things, I think, I hope.
Of course, there's been a lot spoken about weaponry that has been supplied to the Ukrainians' forces. How well served are they for the armaments that they need at this point?
After the successful counteroffensive operation, of course, everybody understood that. All of you remember this, some fake news that Ukrainian armed forces just selling American weapons in Mexico or something like in Darknet. But now it's absolutely clear that Ukrainian forces using Western weapon very professionally and very successfully. So this is very important time now to give Ukraine more long-range missiles, for example, or air defense, missile defense, because just now the Russians continuing to launch missiles against civilian infrastructure, and that still we don't have, I mean, in Ukraine, we don't have a 100% of covering our cities, for example. So I think that the weapons from West should be more and more, because this is a guarantee that Ukrainian armed forces will liberate more and more territories, and finally will have a victory here.
What are the Ukrainian hopes of the future relationship with the United Kingdom? We now have, of course, a new Prime Minister, Liz Truss.
Yeah, of course, the UK now is one of the best allies, and for Ukraine, it's a new geopolitical future because Ukrainian Office of President now published some draft on the security guarantee compact, as they call it, like compact. But of course, it should be analyzed more regarding how we will build a new security infrastructure, I would say global security infrastructure or European security infrastructure after victory against Russia. So I think UK will be maybe one of the pillar, one of the main guarantor of Ukrainian security. But in the same time, I think it will be Ukraine will be a very good player in these in next developments because Ukraine will be one of the most successful player with very strong and very modern armed forces. So I think it will be both for Ukraine and UK very important.
Mykhailo Samus from the New Geopolitics Research Network in Kiev. Thank you very much.
Thank you.